start with the remaining portion. Very less portion of the chapter is left. So by now we have finished about the rules for filling of electrons, the model which is the acceptable model, that is the quantum mechanical model of atom. Okay. Now today we have to talk about the shapes of atomic orbitals. See, when we make atomic orbitals or when we do filling, always what we do, we just make boxes. Na S like this. For P, if we have to make, we will make 3 orbitals in the P subshell. For D, if we are making 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. But actually, these atomic orbitals are not boxes. We are making them or we are representing them in the form of boxes because to understand it in easy way. Okay, but actual shape of these orbitals is something different. So we will talk today about the shape of these orbitals. Okay, so shape of orbitals. So first of all, we'll talk about shape of s orbitals. Just a minute. Okay, so s orbitals, the actual shape of these s orbitals are spherical. Okay, these orbitals are spherical in shape. Spherical in shape means, what about we are talking? That the electrons in s orbitals are present in a spherical shaped area, and this spherical is a 3-dimensional. On the board when we have drawn it, it is looking like a circle, but actually it is not a circle. We are talking about a sphere, a 3-dimensional space available for a electron to move around the nucleus. So suppose if it is the nucleus inside where protons and neutrons are present, and this is one s orbital which is present around, or you can say first number of shell. First number of shell has subshell s, and also it has one orbital, that is s. So this is spherical in shape. Spherical in shape means what? The electron density in this particular orbital, s orbital, is equal all around the nucleus, because the shape of this is spherical, and we said that orbital is a place in a 3-dimension where the probability of finding the electron is maximum. According to the quantum mechanical model, we have already told that there is no fixed path or fixed orbit present for the movement of electron. It may be present in a specified area, and this specified area is actually known as orbital. Okay, you can compare it that in a house, if we talk about different rooms, so the probability of finding mother is most of the time is in the kitchen, but it is not so that she cannot be present somewhere else. Same is there, that the probability of finding the electron is in this area which we have drawn. Okay, so these are the spaces where it can be present. It's because it is spherical in shape, so all the directions, if we talk about, that is x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, in all the 3 directions the probability of finding electron is equal because the shape is a symmetrical shape. Clear? So this is the shape of s orbitals. Now we come to the shape of p orbitals. The shape of p orbitals is not like s orbitals. The shape of p orbitals is dumbbell shape. This shape is known as dumbbell shape. Now, because we know that p orbitals can have 3 orientations. What are those 3 orientations? When we make them draw them in the form of boxes, what we do? 0, -1, +1. Same way it can have 3 orientations like this. Okay, so one of the direction, let us this direction which is horizontal to the axis is PZ, because out of these 3, one is PX, one is PY, one is PZ, oriented in 3 different directions. So if this is PZ, this one we are considering as PX, this one as PY. There is no specified that this one will be PX, this one will be PY. One we can assign PX, other we can assign PY, and the third one we can assign as PZ. Now whichever is according to the internuclear axis, this is known as horizontal internuclear axis. That one actually we have to assume always the same, so that our calculations that will be done in the later chapter number 4, that I will tell you. But for now on, it is okay that PX, PY, PZ, these are the 3 p orbitals whose shape are dumbbell shape, and they are oriented in 3 different directions, X, Y and Z, -1, 0 and +1. Okay. So this is about the shape of p orbitals. Okay. Now, as in case of s orbital, because the shape was spherical, so the electron density was coming equal in all directions, are px, py and pz. But in case of p orbitals, you see that the shape is dumbbell shape, so electron density is not same everywhere. You can see the electron density, the lobe is broader here, then tapering, then finishing to 0, just finished, and then again it is evolving, increasing in the other direction. So the distribution of electron in p orbital is not uniform as it is in case of s orbital. Now if you see that, suppose this is nucleus, now this is 1s orbital, after 1s it is 2s, so it will be also like 2s. So 2s orbital is actually after 1s, then after 2s there should be 2p, so we will not make 2p like this. Actual shape of 2p is not circular as we draw in the structure of atom, but whenever we will draw in that manner only, because every time it is not possible to draw such structures. But actually what is there after 1s, after 2s, this is 2p. Okay, maybe one, that is p y, this is 1p, this is p x, and one more will be there, this is p z, and this is 2p. So actually the structure is too complicated, that cannot be drawn in this manner. Means 2x, 2s, 2p, then again 3s, 3p, this will go on. So we will not be able to draw the real structure. So that is why we have simplified it, the structure, to what? Nucleus, 1s, 2s, 2p, like this we have made it simple, but actual structure is like this. Okay, but this is to know, not to draw. We should know that actual structures are like this, so that when we talk about electron density, uniform or non-uniform, then it should be clear in our mind that why electron distribution is uniform in case of S and why it is not uniform in case of P, because the shape is dumbbell shape and it is oriented in 3 different directions. On the other hand, S is having a spherical equal distribution. Okay. Now, the shape of d orbitals. Okay. d orbitals. Now the shape of d orbitals is double dumbbell. Okay, P is dumbbell shaped, D is double dumbbell shaped. Double dumbbell shape means how it looks. This is one dumbbell, this is another dumbbell. Okay, this is the shape of d orbital. Two dumbbell shaped lobes of orbitals are present. This is one. Now what are the designations given to these? If we draw in the form of boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, neither the orbital looks like this, it looks like this, but actually when we draw it around the nucleus, we cannot draw in this manner. We have to understand this, that their structures are like this, because many concepts are based on these structures. But while drawing, always we will draw like this. Okay, so how we assign 0, minus 1, minus 2, plus 1, plus 2. Now, according to the axis in which these are oriented, we gave them name as dxy. One orbital is, because it is having two lobes, so one of the orbital is having two lobes in x as well as in y direction. The second is dyz. That means second number of d orbital having lobes in two directions, z and y. Third is dzx. That means it is having lobes in z and x direction. Three orbitals are these, total are 5. Then dx square y square. The name of the fourth or the orientation of the fourth one is dx square dash y square. And the fifth one is dz square. And what are these lobes? These lobes are electron densities, or you can say the place where the probability of finding the electron is maximum. These are the spaces of d orbital. Now, according to axis, if we draw them, dxy, dyz, dzx, we will draw them like this. Okay, x and y we have to draw. This is x, this is y. So the electron density is present like this. Between x and y axis, the lobes are present. This is one orbital, this is another. Not orbital, parts of it. The whole is one orbital. This is dxy. Okay, you may assign dxy as minus 2. Any one you can assign. So the two lobes are present in between these axes. If we have to make dyz, so how we will draw it? This one is y, this one is z. Density in between these lobes. Okay, this is dyz. If I have to draw dzx, then I will draw two axes. One of the axes is x, another is z, and the electron density is present between these two lobes. Okay, these are three. Now we have to come to dx square y square. How this orbital is made? This d orbital is, because x and y are there, so we are making x and y. One of the lobe is present on y-axis and one of the lobe is present on x-axis. There is difference between 1, 2, 3, these three and this one which I have drawn recently. Okay, in dx square y square, the electron density is on the axis, and in these three it is in between the axis. So this is the difference between two. And dz square, because every orbital has two lobes. One this, one this, one this, one this. In case of dz square, there are also two lobes, but both of them are present only on the z-axis. So the structure will be like this. This is z-axis, this axis is x or maybe y. This is one lobe, another lobe for this is in this direction. So when you will see in the book, you will find dz square axis shown like this. One lobe is vertical and one lobe drawn around the center. So in this manner we draw shapes of different orbitals, s orbital, p orbital, and then d orbitals. Clear? Okay. So about shapes we have discussed. Once we have discussed about shapes, now the next thing is last and the next thing about the chapter is nodes. So what are nodes? This we have to discuss now. Okay. So the next thing is nodes. What is there in nodes? See, when orbitals are present, when electron density is maximum in orbitals, we said that probability of finding an electron is maximum in a orbital. But as we move away from nucleus, in every orbital there is a place where the probability of finding electron is 0. For example, let me draw. This is nucleus. This is 1s. Okay. Now this is 2s. Suppose the space from here to here, this is the boundary of the nucleus. From here to here is 1s. From here to here is 2s, because it is a area, not a line which we are drawing. Okay. So if this is 2s, so what will happen as we move from 1s towards the end of the 2s, we will find that the electrons which are present in 2s, they are more probable to be found near to the nucleus in this area rather than the boundary, near to the boundary where this 2s is finishing. Okay, so that means I can say that this area where 2s is just about to finish, there is a space where the probability of finding, probability is probability, that means it may be present there, but chances are such that it cannot be present in this area. This area is known as node. Okay, so after the end of every 2s is there, then after 2s 2p is there, but we are not drawing 2p because we are just now concerned about s only. So then it comes 3s. So from 2s to this, suppose this is 3s. This is the area for 3s. So now just near to it, okay, one node again will appear. Clear? So the nodes, these nodes, because these nodes are in the distance like this, this is known as actually radius. This is the radius of the atom moving from towards the center towards the outward. So these nodes are known as actually radial nodes. Okay, so nodes, what are nodes actually? What are radial nodes? These are the area when we move from nucleus towards the orbital, so distance where the probability of finding an electron is 0. Those areas are known as nodes, and in every orbital there are certain nodes present. Okay, and the number of these nodes are decided by certain formulas. What are those formulas? So when we talk about radial nodes, how many radial nodes will be present is found with the help of n-1 for s. In a s orbital, how many nodes will be present? This is decided by formula n-1. Okay, how? Suppose I talk about 2s. In 2s orbital, how many nodes will be present? How many nodes will be present means what? I want to know that how many, there are how many places where the probability of finding electron will be 0. So 2s, I will put it in this formula. What is n? Principal quantum number here is 2. So it will be 2 minus 1, that is 1 node. In 2s orbital, the number of nodes will be 1. In 1s orbital, if I find where value of n is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. That means in the 1s orbital, there is no node present. There is no place in 1s orbital where there is no probability of finding electron. Okay, but 2 Second shell onwards, there are nodes. Now if I come to 3s, then it will be n is 3 minus 1 is equal to 2 nodes. That means in 3s orbital, there will be 2 places where the probability of finding electron will be 0. Clear? Similarly, this is the method or this is the formula for finding out the nodes in s orbital. For finding the radial nodes in p orbital, the formula is n minus 2p. Okay. Now let us see this also. Let's suppose this n, we know that there is no 1p. The p orbital starts from 2. So 2p. So if it is 2p, then how many nodes will be present? N is 2, 2 minus 2 is 0. So the first number of p subshell starts from second shell 2, and always the first shell will not have node. As we saw, 1s is the first shell for 1 or subshell. It has no node. Similarly, 2p is the first p subshell present. So it has no node. Here, if I write 3p, then 3p will be having 3 minus 1 is equal to 0. That is equal to 3 minus 2. Formula is written wrong. 3 minus 2, 1. So it will be having only one node. Okay. So 3p orbital will have one node, 4p will have 2, 5p will have 3. Like this it will go on increasing according to the formula which we are using. Clear? In d orbital, formula used is n minus 3d. Why? Because d orbital starts from 3d. The first d or subshell or orbital is present in the third number of shell. Okay. So formula is n minus 3d. Suppose if I talk about 3d, then it will be 3 minus 3 is equal to 0. First subshell does not have any node. So 3 minus 3 is 0. If it is about 4d, then it will be 4 minus 3 is equal to 1. So one node will be present in 4d. In this manner, radial nodes are calculated. Clear? Now, apart from these radial nodes, there are one more type of nodes which are known as angular nodes. And angular nodes are not as complicated as radial nodes. Now we talk about angular node. Angular node is what? See, right now we were talking about the radius. If this is a nucleus, then moving away from nucleus, the distance which we were calculating, where probability of finding electron is 0. Okay, that is radial node. Now if this is nucleus, I am talking about a space in vertical direction along the axis where the probability of finding electron is 0. Now see, if we come to s orbital, the s orbital is spherical in shape, just like a ball. You imagine a ball. Now if it is a ball shaped structure, then inside the ball there is no place where the probability of finding the electron will be 0. If you pass an axis from the center of it, then in the center also there is probability of finding electron because the shape is uniform. So angular node in s orbital is always 0 because of its spherical shape. In the center, from where the axis is passing, there will always be probability of finding electron. It will not be a node. Now in case of p orbital, if you see, you can see that when we are making the shape of p orbital, you can see that the lobe is bigger here, tapering, and then again bigger here. But there is a point in between where the two are meeting and it has just reduced to 0. So this is a place, because there is no space here, so this is a place where the probability of finding electron is 0. So either it is px, or it is py, or it is pz. All in the center will have a place where the probability of finding electron is 0. So for p orbital, there is always one angular node passing through the center of the axis or center of the orbital. Clear? If I talk about D orbital is double dumbbell shape. Each orbital is double dumbbell. Okay, this is double dumbbell. Now, there will be a null point in between this, where there will be no probability of finding electrons. Similarly, this lobe is another lobe in the d orbital. So again, when this lobe is tapering, here again there is a point where there is no electron, because both the two lobes are meeting at one point, but we know that because they are separate lobes, so there are 2 points at the same place where probability of finding electron is 0. So for d orbital, the number of angular nodes are 2. So for S it is 0, for P it is 1, for D it is 2. Like this, for F it will be 3 and so on. Because we don't talk about the shape of F orbitals, it becomes more complicated and complicated. So just we can write that it will go on increasing like this. So we can say that the number of angular nodes are actually equal to the L value. L value means azimuthal quantum number value. For S orbital, the azimuthal quantum number value is 0. For P orbital, we know that the value of azimuthal quantum number assigned is 1. P corresponds to 1. D corresponds to 2. And F corresponds to 3. Like this it is. So, whatever is the value of L, the same is the number of angular nodes present in a particular orbital. Okay. So, this is all about radial nodes and angular nodes. Clear? So here we complete the discussion of the theoretical part of this chapter. Now, one last thing, that in this chapter we had written 2 formulas that I need to discuss. We had written 1 by lambda, which is equal to nu bar, is equal to 109,677 1 minus n1 square upon 1 minus n2 square centimeter inverse. Okay, this was the formula for calculation of wavelength or wave number of radiations, okay, in hydrogen spectrum for different regions, falling in different regions. Now, another formula which was written was calculation through energy. E is equal to 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 1 minus Ni square Nf square. These 2 formulas though appear to be similar, but they are little different from each other. What is the difference? See, this value which we have written is RH. This value which we have written is also known as RH, Rydberg's constant. But both the times the value which we are writing is different. The value is different, but actually both of them are similar. How they are similar, just we see it. E is equal to 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18. This we have seen that the energy of an electron in hydrogen atom present in the first shell is actually equal to 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18. This we have seen, and we had also put a minus sign here. But when we derive this formula, that minus sign is cancelled. That is why we are not writing this minus sign in formula. Okay. Now, how it is derived from it, this I will tell you. Now, we know that E is equal to, this E is equal to H nu. Okay. Now, if we want to convert this formula in terms of nu, so if I want to write in place of this nu, then what I will write? Nu is equal to E upon H. I will write like this, that nu is equal to E upon H. So what I have to do here, if I want to convert this energy formula in terms of frequency formula, I will write here frequency is equal to 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 divided by H, because what I have done here is E by H. So here what I am doing is 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 upon H. Okay, so this on calculation comes, because H value is 6.6 into 10 to the power minus 34. So this value comes 3.29 into 10 to the power 15. And the rest formula remains same, 1 upon Ni square upon 1 upon Nf square. Okay. Now this formula has got converted in terms of frequency. Now if I want to convert this formula in terms of 1 by lambda, then what I need to do? C is equal to nu lambda. This is the formula. Okay. Now if I want formula in terms of 1 by lambda, because this formula is 1 by lambda. So what I will do? I will take lambda here. So it will become 1 by lambda, and this will become nu upon C. Okay. Now when this is nu upon C, so if I divide this nu by C, then this will convert into 1 by lambda. So I will write here 1 by lambda is equal to nu by C. So this nu is already given 3.29 into 10 to the power 15 upon C. C is the velocity of light 10 to the power 8, because we have taken here centimeter, so that we are putting 3 into 10 to the power 10, not 8. Okay. Now when we divide these two terms, then it gives value, then it will give you value that is equal to this one, that is 109,677, and rest formula is 1 by Ni square upon 1 by Nf square. Clear? So this value actually, now the formula has got converted into 1 by lambda. We had started with E formula. So with E, the value of Rydberg constant comes this, and with 1 by lambda, the value of Rydberg constant comes this. So don't be confused. It is the same formula RH, but value will differ, because what we are doing is dividing by H, dividing by this value, dividing by C, then we get this value. Clear? So according to the requirement of the numerical question, we can use either this formula or this formula, but we will have to take care to put the values. If E we are using, use RH value this. If 1 by lambda we are finding, use RH value this. Clear? Now, though these two formulas have been derived from each other, but you can see one more difference when we are writing these two formulas. One is the difference in the values of these RH values. Second difference, you can see that here we are writing Ni and Nf, and here we are writing N1 and N2. It doesn't make any difference, much difference, but why you need to use Ni and Nf in case of energy. In case of 1 by lambda, whenever we are finding, we will always use N1 square minus 1 upon N2 square, where N1 is always a smaller value and N2 is always bigger value. Okay. We can also use the same N1 and N2 in case of energy also, but if we use N1 and N2 here, then in that case we will not get the sign of energy. Sign of energy means what? In the solution, if we get minus sign in the final answer, that will tell us that the energy is emitted. Okay. And in the final answer of energy, if we get positive, means not negative sign, that means that energy is absorbed, because absorption of energy is positive and release of energy is negative. That means what? If an electron is jumping from its ground state from higher level, that means it is absorbing energy. That time the energy answer should come positive after solving. If an electron is in higher energy level and coming back to its position and emitting some light, then in that case this answer of energy should come in negative. So to know whether the absorption type of spectrum which we are getting is a absorption one or emission one, we use Ni and Nf, not N1 and N2, because N1 and N2 are fixed. Always we will have to use a smaller N1 and bigger than N1, N2, but in this case it is not so. Suppose if I say that in a question I say that an electron is jumping from n is equal to 5 to n is equal to 2. Okay, then what will be the wavelength? Then in this formula if I will use, I will put 2 here, because n1 is the smaller value and n2 is the bigger value. So 2 is square and 5 is square I will use. But if I am using this and question is that electron is jumping from n5 to n2, then what will be the value of energy? Then if I put n1 and n2, I will not get the sign of it. But if I put n initial and n final, that means what? Where the electron was initially the electron was in 5 and from 5 it has jumped to 2. Okay, so I will put here initial was 5, so 1 by 5 is square minus 1 by 2 is square. Then on solving this I will get negative sign. You can see I will get negative sign because it will come 4 here minus 25. Okay, that means I will get a negative value, and it's very clear that from 5 electron is coming to 2, that means there will be emission of energy. So I must get a negative sign with answer. That is why we have to put Ni and Nf here. So I hope it is clear that why we are using I and F. It does not make any difference in the numerical value of your answer. You can use any N1, N2 if you are using, also you will get the same answer, but you will not get sign negative.